always.
Yeah, welcome to the 2 Month Review, the weekly podcast brought to you by Open Letter at the University of Rochester, in which we take a book, break it down, talk about it, analyze it, have a good time. I'm Chad Post from Open Letter Books, joined as always by Kai Astromonis, whose most recent translation from Latvian is The River by Laura Vinogradova. Got it. And she's sick.
Nailed it.
She's sick. So this week, my question for you, Kai, is in this last part of Kathy Acker's Empire of the Senseless, which we're going over today, there's two kind of routes, piracy and motorcycle. Since you're sick and dying, which way do you want to die? In the water or on a motorcycle accident?
Man, I thought you were gonna say by pirates. I don't know that in the water is what I would favor.
I think that's kind of how it ends.
I mean, they
Keep your
could I die by pirates and then have them throw me overboard after? Like, can I not know the water
You
part?
want to die swashbuckling?
Yeah, I would like to die swashbuckling. I think that sounds pretty sexy.
There.
Dying on a motorcycle just sounds fucking dumb.
Yeah,
Throw
like
me in
John
this, throw
Gardner.
me in the sea so I can be eaten out by fish.
And that is Brian Wood that you're hearing there, author of Joytime Killbox is his most recent book. And yeah, so you want to die by fish.
Well, I mean, that's a quote from the book, so I was just
Yeah.
trying to
Tie it all together.
just tying
Dead
it all
Walk the
dead
together.
fish,
plank.
fuck. Dead fish,
Fuck.
fuck.
Dead fish fuck. Dead fuck fish.
So
Terrific.
in your intro, you most like with the passion of like an ad read, you said that talk about it, have a good time. Are we having a good time discussing Empire of the Senseless?
I'm still this was also one of my favorite sections. I love this book. I by the end I
Okay.
went and put it on my Goodreads and I found that like at some point in time I had rated a lot of books on Goodreads. I didn't really use it for a long time. And I had given this 5 stars on Goodreads already. And now I
Okay.
logged in, I finished it again. So that's my take. I do like this. Kai, you having fun yet?
I was so not okay in the days leading up to this podcast that I don't remember a whole lot. So I can lie
Oh,
and say sure. I remember there's pictures that takes up a lot of page space.
I have that experience too sometimes, like, oh yes, we got a paragraph break. I don't have to read quite as much. This section is gonna go fast.
put in some more of that Persian poetry, man.
But yeah,
It takes up space.
but honestly from the first few pages of the section, I think I had to go back and reread a couple times because I'm interested for that to be part of the thing that gets talked about is that there aren't exactly many segues here in this section. Like there aren't a lot of section sub breaks and stuff like that.
No, no, I'm going back to that's true. But Brian, what did you think? Are you having fun?
Oh, always. Like I enjoy things that I love. I enjoy things even more that I don't love. I think. Uh, but I have like this fascination of trying to reverse engineer and guess how things were made or why they're made. And so there's a lot of questions, obviously, with this work and most postmodern stuff. That makes it interesting, even though it can be somewhat impenetrable for a casual read.
Yeah, yeah. For I think coming across this casually is pretty much going to be a tough
Terrible
pill to
idea. It's
sell.
a very terrible idea.
I'm just going to leave this around outside my office and see who picks it up.
No, I mean, I see somebody having finished this book. I see an author that, yeah, like they want to be like punk rock and hardcore and subversive and all that kind of stuff. Like, okay, cool. Um, but like more than anything, I see somebody that's just absolutely open to embracing things,
Mm-hmm.
and willing to try things and willing to put themselves out there and do weird shit. To take like I don't know, like random poetry, to take the highway code driver manual and like cut pieces out of it and infuse it into narrative and to break with like just cinematic realism and like a normal like arc and structure that we want to see. Someone willing to like and like the good editor will be like, that's really great, Kathy. Why don't we try maybe one of those things or two of those things, and we can decide which 9 things we don't want to do. And then, you know, she knife rapes them and says, "I'm gonna fucking do what I want to do," and you're like, "Ah, we're never working again." Like that's what we're getting. Like it seems like.
That's so funny. When I read that bio, like it was weird. It didn't feel like there was a lot of like contentious stuff between her and the editor. There's
Yeah,
always like with the agents,
sure.
in particular. But like, I also believe that they just let her do what she wanted to do. The same way that
Yeah,
like nowadays things are barely edited. I
yeah.
bet that was back then. It was like, oh no, this is a performance. This is all of a piece. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, what would your notes even be? Like you're saying, like cut it down to one. But like on an individual like line or structured thing of like maybe move this paragraph, like I guess I don't know.
I would just say like the mom should be a capital M and not a lowercase m. If you're calling mom mom, like that would be the note, maybe. I don't know. Like
There's
I know.
that, and also that you probably shouldn't do L apostrophe LD for like blank would, but
Yeah.
at the same time, does it really matter because the L is silent anyway?
That is in here, right? Because it was
Yeah, it's
in
just
my
like,
audio book or in the
Several in
Kindle book, and
several
I thought it was a
places.
typo.
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
no, I mean, I the first time maybe thought it was a typo, but when it kept on happening, and kind of like what you've been saying, just to, if I may tie it in, to your Chapel Road, the introduction you're writing, Chad, about the intention behind what we would modernly consider typos. I mean, even that, like I did, it was bothering me for a while. And like I said, at a certain point, I was like, but it doesn't fucking matter because again, the L is silent. So why am I so upset about it?
only a book editor would be bothered by that. With everything else you've encountered in this book.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the one that pushes
That's
you
the
over the
one.
edge.
You know what?
I'm
I
like, you know
gotta,
what? I didn't
I mean,
after the third apostrophe LD, I just stopped reading, guys. I never
yeah, there's
yeah,
no serial commas.
like
The usage was inconsistent. This is
in,
fuck this
incest and
book.
bestiality and murder. I'm okay with all of that, but God,
NBD.
That's fine. But as soon as you start taking shots at the Chicago Manual of Style, we need to have a conversation.
Oh my God.
this apostrophe LD has gone too far. Like, no, like there would be no, yeah, I wouldn't change the structure because I don't even know what it is. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I think okay, so I think maybe an interesting way to talk about this. I was thinking about because I read this, I finished this on Saturday. It's been a few days. It's been a lot of days of the Cardinals losing every day, which is why my ad read introduction is so bad because they just lost again in the 13th inning, fuckers. But the one of the things that like stood out about this section is we finally get Huckleberry Finn. Huckleberry Finn is plagiarized and used for the first part of this third section where Tobias speaks and then ties it back kind of into James. And like one of the things that comes up, so there's two sections in particular in the first part of this third part of the book, right? So like and my Kindle it's page 221, but it talks about how he's dressed as a girl and there's a rat that walks out of a hole and after lie I could shriek because I was a girl. Another rat walked out and another and the secretary, her name turned out to be Mrs. Williams, didn't mind at all. Maybe she wasn't a girl. Genders were complex those days. There's a lot of rats here, Mrs. Williams said. That's from Huckleberry Finn, where he dresses up as a girl and goes to try and find out what's going on in the town and claims he has to go meet his uncle. And the Mrs. Williams, I think that is her name, finds him out immediately because he doesn't scream at like the rat and doesn't move it. It doesn't sit properly like a girl would. And is like, you're not a girl. You're like faking it. But I'll have my husband like help you find your uncle. And Huck Finn flips and leaves. And that's replayed out here where the character is like dressed as a girl. They have the same sort of thing. But then the guy, the husband, is like, well, I'll walk you home and is like leching all over her and is like way creepier. So it's like subverting the plagiarism of that. But then there's the part where so I guess let's stop there for that. So that one, I don't know if that stood out to you guys as being from Huckleberry Finn, but because I just read it, it's like super fresh.
Yeah, that was the first thing to me that very much screamed Huck Finn.
So,
and I think it might be just before that, the raft and the "Are you dead?" and pulling somebody out of the water
hmm
takes place as well at the beginning of this section,
yeah,
uh, which were very prominent in James and also with Huckleberry Finn.
yep, yep, 100%. There's also like that line right there that's right in this part, like I would rather be dead than a girl. which is dark. Uh,
There's a lot of anti-girl sentiment.
but yeah, I'm curious about that too. Like this whole the paragraph that precedes that is this one. Now, I didn't want to be a girl no more because girls being passive don't eat enough because girls don't get enough to eat. Now, if girls were meaner, they'd with the L, they'd get whatever they wanted to eat because the meanest of us all get the most because that's the meaning of meanest. Who's the meanest of us all? It's dead people because dead people have no emotional or other human considerations to stop them from being mean. All of human history proves this. I'd rather be dead than a girl. Which I wonder, like, this is just occurring to me now, but is like in some ways when you say there's like this anti-girl stuff, I mean, there is like consistently like women are in trouble in all these books because society is bad, but in Kathy Acker in particular, like the amount of like sex and rape and patriarchal stuff is pretty intense. But then also like I don't think that Kathy Acker wants to be a girl. She wants to be a fucking pirate and a motorcycle art. She wants to be non-identified as that gender, but not in an ungendered way or a non-gender specific way, but in a like, no, fuck that. I'm not like a girl. I am, a pirate now.
That's
My name
fair.
is Pussy, and I'm the king of the pirates. Maybe. I don't know if anyone's got any reactions to that.
I agree. Cheeseburger. Cheeseburger.
Good enough. Good enough. I do like that Mr. Williams makes a lot of money because he sells comic books. That's pretty funny.
Clearly fake.
Literally fake news.
Yeah.
That's not that's
This
not
was
gonna
this
work.
was before Image Comics ruined everything. So
It's like as it's happening, isn't it? Like it's just before.
yeah, 88.
Yeah, just before. But that's like I liked a lot of this section, even though it's like because it's playing with the Huckleberry Finn, I liked it. But one of the things I was going to say that might tie these all together is that, again, going back to the pirate thing, the water is freedom. And like even in this, like the getting to the water, the river, everything, that's the freedom. You're out of the society in some way. And that's true of Huck Finn, the great novel of like American freedom as it's been called, is that they are free to like go anywhere and do anything because they're like both Huck Finn is dead, quote unquote, so nobody's looking for him necessarily, and they're out on the water, right? So they're not bound by the same conscriptions as you are on land. And this, I thought this part was playing a little bit with that to like reemphasize the like escape and freedom aspects that are found in Huck Finn.
Yeah, I agree. I'm wondering too, though, do you think this idea of like I'd rather be dead than be a girl, um, do you think with where she's positioned, Acker is positioned within the like movements of feminism, do you think there's a parallel between like being a slave or being black in America versus now being a woman in America? Like when we think about like for instance black men could vote in America before white women could vote in America. It's a like in the end it's a patriarchal society, and so we're going to provide privileges to men before we will to women. um, and I'm wondering if there is some dialogue that she's having with that with the way she speaks about women in this
And
book.
and Abhor, remember, is half black and half cyborg, or half
She's
both.
half everything.
Just have
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
It sort of fits. There was like this isn't that far removed from the movement, the part of the feminist movement that wanted women housewives to be paid by the companies that employ their men because they're their husbands, because they were the ones making it possible for their husbands to do the work for the company, so the company should be paying and compensating them for helping make that happen. Was sort of the maybe quaint argument at this point in time, given that like I don't think it's most people's desire to be considered a housewife that's just like propping up their husband and making sure that their day is easier. Although a lot of people do, even with their own careers and their own jobs, end up taking care of the kids, helping do the dishes, doing the
Mhm.
laundry, doing all the stuff that like does make that possible. But fucking God help me that like any corporation in America would be giving extra money to like something like that wasn't producing pure efficiency for them.
Yeah.
But
And there also is the parallel too that I think works so well, like with James, for instance, the boat exploding and
Hmm.
the war that's coming. And if we want change, it's not going to be passive. It's we are going to blow up something,
Got to fight.
right? Like you're gonna have to like find the seam and plant a mine there and like explode it. And I think we get something very similar with like, okay, well, let's be pirates then. Like, is there like,
I mean, it's not, I mean, because it's on my mind because the new pension book is was announced today that's coming out this fall. But like Against the Day has a bit of this in terms of learning how to use dynamite, and that's the way that can as labor can rise up against the people who own you is by blowing shit up and like
Mhm.
becoming an outlaw. An outlaw is kind of maybe the overall rubric for the pirate and the motorcycle person is outlaw. Like Kathy Acker wants to be an outlaw because that's the
Um,
only way that you can get outside of all the systems, but also like fight that war that you're talking about.
yeah, because if you think about it too, it's a very interesting concept. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm just trying to sound smart. I like the way that Percival Everett ended James, in which they go west, right? Like you go outside of the law. You're going like trying to get to a frontier.
Yeah,
Uh, and even there, like, oh shit, we're gonna still deal with the same stuff, even though we're quote free.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it's like even like if you want to be a pirate, if you want to join a motorcycle gang, like yes, like you can break the system apart, but there's gonna be a new set of rules. There's still gonna be like things that you conform to, labels you're going to have, even though you're trying to break free from and like shed your skin from this old way. In what you're embracing in the new way, there's still going to be a new set of restraints.
So within that, because that seems to be like a lot of the second part of this book was designed to do that. Like how those
Yeah,
things, like when you have
the
no taboos, how does
taboos.
it
Yeah.
restart? How does this reform? Does this third part have any other indications outside that? Like, I'm trying to think, and I'm kind of like going to be sort of working through this on the fly. But is there like moments here in which there is that breaking out? Is there like, does she offer another path? And I keep relying upon this outlaw pirate thing, but you're right, is that she's already demonstrated that the revolutionaries take over Paris and then just end up becoming like fucked by the CIA and going back into the old way of doing things. And if the book has like a message, it would presumably come in this section in the way of like here's a different approach, here's a different pathway.
Yeah. Because like even like when she wants to join a motorcycle gang, like the first thing they say is like,
You can't do it.
you can't do that. Like only dudes can do that.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, find a different motorcycle. Well, do you have a motorcycle? Well, no, I'll get one. Do you know how to ride a motorcycle?
Figure it out.
There's a highway, there's a code. Look, here's the code. Like,
And maybe it is just like simply just breaking those conventions, like what you're saying about the
yeah,
book as a whole, Brian. Of like it just says like fuck you to that. Like I'm not gonna have a rising action, a climax, and a denouement. I'm gonna like create essentially. And what I've always thought of her books as, and I think this is the right time to like sort of plot this, is that they're maps. They're not like narrative structures like arcs or spirals or any of that. They're like maps, like loci of power, of dream, of space to escape, of whatever, and that they're all contained there. And maybe drawing like a really wide metaphor is that that's sort of the self and the body as well. Like the tattooing becomes like creating a map on your body of different points. Her like spiritual leanings and like the kind of like Reikiification of the sort of self-help industry. It also sort of points that like the body is locus of trauma and of pain. And her books always read to me like they are like almost like LSD influence, like dreams where like all this shit has symbolic meaning and it's in different spaces and in different parts of the book, but not necessarily connected. You can just go to the different areas. Like I wonder if you could take this book and do some sort of I Ching sort of shit with it and roll some dice and just read whatever part. And I don't think it would make any difference. I don't think you have to read this book in order.
didn't help me at all reading it in order. So I could certainly read it out of order.
Read it backwards.
Sure. No, I think the three parts made sense the way they were set up.
Hmm.
But as far as what was happening within those three parts, there was really not a lot of, you know, this person speaks, that person speaks, and there's not necessarily a direct connection with the way they like. There's not like this like linear thread that would like help you make a necklace out of all these little pieces. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a broken necklace in like in a bowl. We can put this together at some part, but at some point. But these are all the things that would make this necklace. Look at all the beads.
Right.
Like, it
Right.
feels kind of like
Exactly.
you just kind of like rummage your hand through it, like, oh, this one's neat, and you hold it up and set it down and pick another one. Oh, look at the way that. Oh, I don't like that one. Like,
Although maybe it is also like to stay on this meta level for a second before there are some like more specific parts, but staying on a meta level, maybe it is also the idea that you put all those beads out there, you put all those pieces out there, all these different like observations, thoughts, mixture of biography and whatnot, and it's left to self-organize. That out of every chaos we see a pattern and make a some sort of narrative. We're always trying to at least, and that maybe the book's sort of like or like a metaphor for human society is that no, you don't you explore all these places and it will self gel in some way, and that can be very dangerous. But also, like if you're aware of like it trying to gel into something that's like patriarchal and overwhelming, that you can read those road signs and avoid that part and try and remain like in this kind of chaos, this sort of stew of things that is a safer space than anything that gets kind of put together. But maybe like, you organize, you become your little pirate band on the corner for a while. It just comes together. Although Abhor doesn't want to be a pirate. And that's the part that I really like right here as a quote. And fucking means nothing to me, but Abhor insisted it meant a lot to her, her being a woman. I told her that she was just emotional, being a woman. Having a fuck is actually like taking a leak. Look, Abhor, the sky's taking a huge leak. Is the sky emotional? Crazy? You're trying to say something else to me, Abhor. There must be a real reason why you don't want to become a pirate. The sky was pissing down on us so forcefully, all our hair and bits of clothing, and even flesh was cold, shivering. I love that part too. I think that that's great, but also points to that like one of the kind of underpinnings of her thing of like the relationship to fucking is like really core of like the Kathy Acker mythos and like this book in particular, and then like really changes. I think is an attempt to change like the sort of romanticization of like physical intimacy and like it as a locus of power. Like I fuck you, therefore you are mine, and you are in this space now. And she's like, no, fucking doesn't mean anything. You just fuck. You just give your brother a hand job on holidays.
don't even get me started.
I
So
was gonna open the I was gonna open
these
with my
days,
opening question being like,
so
yay or nay
disappointed.
on the White Lotus season, but
So disappointing. Okay.
Lachlan needed to die.
Well, yeah, sure.
It's such a cheat.
I have a I have a question not related to people that go to Duke University. Um, so the very beginning of Pirate Night, when it says, "I realized something," um, third paragraph, inside me, I saw two hearts pierced and pinned together by an arrow. Half the arrow was white and half black. A leafy scroll winding around the pierced hearts was black or white. So, I mean, it's the imagery of like the style of tattoos we've been seeing, aside,
Mhm.
well, not the Japanese style that dead fish fuck, but like that American traditional style of tattooing is kind of like the image we get there. And then towards the end of I Realized Something, we return to that image again. In the book, it's page 203.
There.
Um, so Mark is talking about something or other, and it goes to this. Now
But
there are
his name is
three.
Mark, by the way.
Yeah. Wink, wink. Now there are three kinds of hearts. One, the double heart, in which each heart hurts the other heart. Two, the single or lonely heart. Three, the single heart, which through the pain of loneliness becomes a rose. We sliced into a boar's thumb and got some blood. I drew the three hearts in her red blood. The double heart, The first heart was one heart placed over a second heart. This sign was me and a boar. One arrow, like a knife, was piercing both hearts. A scroll which said, Empire of the Senseless, twined, writhed, wiggled, and giggled like a snake around our double hearts. So, like in all the tattoo imagery we get, we don't get a picture of this one, but it's like
No,
but it's like the most described thing maybe in this entire book. At the end there, yeah,
it's not unrelated, but yeah.
but it says discipline and anarchy, and
Hmm.
there's a knife going through a rose, right? But I thought there was something interesting that she would return to this image twice and kind of bookend this section with that image, and then like do the giant all capital name drop of the book title in that as well. It seems like she's really stopping us, slowing things down for a moment, and like really wants us to pay attention to this. And I'm just curious if there was anything that you gathered from
Well,
her
that's
slowing us down and pointing us to this.
I'm going to develop a theory. But then it does go on too, because then a knife pierces single heart, the second heart, and
Hmm.
that one says it's better to die than yield to shit. And then there's also to write is to reveal a heart's identity, which sounds like very much a James. Going back to like the ability to write becomes like important in this one. And then they drew her own lonely heart that says "fuck faces all men" and the ship is sinking over the bloody heart. So we
Yeah.
get like three iterations of those. But the thing that I was thinking with the discipline and anarchy and a lot of this book is that it is two sides. So you have like Tavai, I think is how we were saying it, and Abhor, and they are kind of two sides of one thing. There's a little bit of like Zen nature to all this, the black and white that you're describing around it, the double heart, the like even Empire and Senseless are two different like almost opposing terms.
Yeah.
Discipline and anarchy are two different opposing terms. There's like dead fish and fuck are two different opposing terms. Like there's a lot of that kind of creeps up here. So maybe this escape route is like piracy joined with something that's like one side of it, and that there's some like higher Zen methodology at play here. Like you have to engage with this real world, but you can also avoid it at times. You can fuck without marriage. You can, do this without that, but you are going to have to like engage with it because you can't escape it. But at least you have like a balance. Kathy
Well,
Acker's maybe like totally sane and giving us like a pathway to like rational sanity in our world that doesn't involve like worshiping crystals.
like it says though, like um the first heart, the double heart is where like each one hurts each other.
Right.
And as it says, like that's Taive and Abor is the double heart.
Hmm.
And then the way that like she like you're saying doubles everything. Like I'm half this, I'm half that. I'm half human, I'm half machine, I'm half and then I have like a heart that's hurt and I have a heart that hurts someone else. And this is my like yeah, I think there's definitely something there about go
It
ahead.
it is also that interesting that we're talking about like the structure and what she's trying to do, and keep going back to this three-part thing. And there's threes throughout this as well, and three is a very patriarchal number. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, the ego, the id, and the other one.
Super
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 ego.
ego.
That's what it is. Like, holy shit, I lost my Freud. But like the threes are like constantly coming up in terms of like those kind of our ancient structures of and are generally used to be like repressive or seen as repressive.
Hmm.
So maybe I don't know. And like doing that, trying to break the mold with using something that is like rather conventional in that sense is sort of a move as well. The other, well, not to go too far afield, but like the other part that's the Huckleberry Finn thing is when they're gonna break her out because Abhor's been like arrested, right? And they're gonna break her out, and it is Mark, right? And he's like, well, we can't do it the way that you're suggesting of just getting the key and unleashing her. We have to like dig a moat with penknives and then have her write all this stuff. That's also Huckleberry Finn, where they're gonna like save Jane or save Jim, and and Tom Sawyer's like, no, man, you can't do it that way. You've got to like you got to have like this he's got to cut off like his leg because he'll be chained to the bed and scrawl this mysterious note, and then maybe he can like dig a hole out and like all this like nonsense that in Huckleberry Finn seems to be like kind of a reflection on the narratives as expected within adventure narratives. And because even Tom says in Huckleberry Finn, like, haven't you ever read a book? That's what happens. That's how it works. And in here, they're kind of like she's really leaning into that of like, you got to write it, you got to have the pen knives, you got to dig the moat. This is the way things are supposed to go because that's the way they're supposed to go. And instead, it's like, this is bullshit. What are we doing here?
Well, just think of this as like literal, and then also think of it as symbolic, right? To finish off that little section about it's better to die than yield to shit. Um, a little bit later, it says, I explained that these hearts were applicable because they were senseless. To write is to reveal a heart's identity. All right, so we get more heart stuff, right? To
Hmm.
write is to reveal a heart's identity. Then I cut into Abor's four fingers with another penknife. There was blood all over the place, and something or someone smelt like fish. This was the end of Abor's first writing lesson. Making Abor into a great woman writer obviously was going to take more blood than sweat.
Yep.
What is she saying there?
And I'm
I
wondering
think
about
it's
maybe
I think
simply the
it's
pain. Oh,
I
you
think
go.
it's fascinating. It's like um and it's like it'd be great to bring in some people that are more lit bro than even me, but like we look at like to be a great American male novelist or whatever, like you just got to put in that hard work and I want to see the craft. And then, oh, if you want to be a great woman writer, you better just like cut yourself and bleed onto the page. Like
Yeah,
I don't want the craft. I want to see your guts and I want to see it spilt on the Is that what she's saying
I
here?
would like to see your blood and guts in high school. In
Yeah,
fact,
exactly. Yeah.
That's- as a term, I thought similar and like maybe like a trauma induced thing. If you're gonna be like a male goes out and conquers and writes about the conquering, a woman
Uh,
gets beat and then writes about the process of bleeding.
You
Maybe.
just everything is dictated for you as a woman. Like even at the end where she's crying and she's like, I changed my mind. I want to be in your motorcycle gang. And Mark's like, no, you don't. It's like there's no agency even in the creative writings from your own mind.
yeah.
I mean, the ending is like super intense. I told Mark that he was right. I didn't want to be part of a motorcycle gang. I stood there in the sunlight, and thought that I didn't as yet know what I wanted. I now fully knew that I didn't want and what and whom I hated. That was something. And then I thought that one day, maybe there'll be a human society in a world which is beautiful, a society which wasn't just disgust. Little hopeful note. Little hopeful Kathy Acker note. Giving him all we want. When I was talking about map, I'd totally forgotten that there is a
Yeah.
chart in here, like
Yeah.
right in the middle, in which it sort of I think describes it's a tarot card thing, to find out whether I should kill myself or not, but has like my irrational self moving from art to a happy home, and then Abhor moving from time to Alexander the Great looks out over the world he's conquered. Maybe that ties into like what we were just saying about like the writing intersecting with the art moves upwards as it moves towards conquest and out of time and into conquest. Because part of like male writing is building a monument that lasts, right? Like to write the great American novel that will be read forever is sort of the unstated goal of like 99% of male MFA students.
Yeah. No, like it's kind of like I don't know, they say like good writing should have like ego death involved in it, right? But there's I don't know, there's like a tremendous amount of ego, it seems like, as far as I don't know if other novels, but certainly with American novels, American male novels.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's this like conquesting aspect to it. Um, versus what she's saying is like I gotta have all my fingers cut and like they want me to just like bleed and like, oh, there's your good first lesson. I hope you get some more blood to spill so we can put something on the page.
So
Otherwise you're worthless and you're no good.
the pirate metaphor is interesting within the relation to that too, in the sense that like pirates are nowhere, can go wherever they want, but survive by like raiding. They go and raid and pillage, generally, right? I assume that's what pirates still do.
Pirates are the ultimate thrifters, man.
Yeah.
Second hand for life.
Yeah. They're just like, we're not gonna make shit. We're just gonna go take your shit. That's what we want. Thank you very much. We'll take your women, we'll take your goods. Just sack of land. I want a sack of land.
My reading retention skills aren't the best at it. Does it say why? Do you remember why she doesn't want to be a pirate?
I don't think so. It's just like she doesn't want to, and he doesn't really explain. I don't think why, because then
Okay.
it goes into the part where they find the people that are gonna murder, and he's like, "We gotta murder the murderers," and she's like, "No, you don't murder anyone. No murdering is good. Is good non-murdering." He's like,
Mhm.
"No, you don't understand. Murdering a murderer is a plus. Like two negatives make it right." And that's when she goes to the cops to tell on them and ends up in jail, and then becomes
Yeah.
the motorcycle gang, right? So I
Yeah.
don't know that it's ever like particularly defined, except that like on some level, like he's like, I want to be a pirate, so you're gonna be a pirate too. And she's like, I don't really. What are you telling? Why are you doing this? Like, why are you telling me what I'm gonna be?
Yeah.
I don't think we want to do that. I'm trying to see if there is anything else because I don't remember
For a
anything.
second, I thought you were describing the plot to It Ends With Us.
I think I was
At some
unintentionally.
point, the cycle of violence has to stop. You can't just keep it, and it ends with us.
Does it though? Does it? Or does that
I
violence
watched I
continue
watched
on?
that movie on an airplane, and
No shit.
I never hoped for an airplane crash more in my life when I was on. Like I know I could have just turned it off. I was like, it'd be easier if we just crashed, I think. I would be okay with that.
I just watched it this past weekend because the second Anna Kendrick Blake Lively movie has not come out yet.
Oh,
I went
okay.
on a Blake Lively curious bent of like all the real and rumored people she has beefs with.
Well, did you
Yeah.
watch the Baldoni documentary
No,
about
I
her?
haven't gotten to that yet.
I
I've
think it's
listened to
on
several
Max,
podcasts. Yeah, I've listened to several podcasts that talk about it. But I haven't watched the doc yet.
but inevitably you will as a lively head.
I,
No.
I think it just thinking about casting, I think it would be awesome to make this into a movie and have Baldoni play um Tiva, or how we say the name.
To buy? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, have Baldoni play Tavai and have Blake Lively play Abor, and you could have a really cool. That'd make an awesome movie.
There would be a lot of what are they called? Like not sensitivity trainers, but the people who come in and oversee the like physical
Yeah, yeah.
uh
Intimacy coaches, or yeah,
yeah, that exactly. There'd have to be like a staff of 100.
yeah.
Right, when you say that, it reminds me that this section actually reminded me or made me think like, am I just rereading Lanark again? Like this initially two-person path traversing through this like weirdo land and all these weird obstacles coming up and the back and forth of it all to tie it back to Aleister Gray.
Yeah, that's interesting too.
The other thing that really surprised me about this book is I'm not good at math, but I mean, it's going to be coming up very shortly, and being 40 years old. Um, and it's still quite shocking, and I'm pretty desensitized from the amount of just like wrong things I've read or watched. And good Lord, if it's not been accelerated with the internet, the exposure to just deplorable things. This is still very shocking uh, when you read it. I can't even imagine, you know, coming off of like Ronald Reagan and Tipper Gore, uh, like with those Puritan sensibilities, how this must have read in the early 90s. Um,
Yeah. I mean, this is like a middle finger to Tipper.
yeah, the fact that that's still in print is amazing.
Kathy Acker hasn't been canceled.
Yeah, I don't know who's reading it. I don't know why they're holding the rights to it, but it's cool that that exists, and I'm glad it's still there. I don't know who I can recommend it to, but I'm glad it exists.
I'm
It
openly recommending this everyone listening to this podcast to read this book. I,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
am
Yeah,
going to get canceled.
yeah.
That's
But
great.
but no, like in some weird sense, this absolutely bleak, brutal, dystopian future that she's painted, the fact that this book can still exist and be discussed, I think is it gives me some hope.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, I agree with that. And there are like some parts that are just like evergreen related to uh like the treatment of women. Like on the beginning of Black Heat, the second section where Abhorse finally speaks, and this is the motorcycle section. She's like at the bottom of the first page of it, looking at these two men gave my eyes cramps, which is was going to be my line of the week, but like let's go for it now. But I knew who they were. They were the two who taught me to write. Both of you would be better off if you just admit that you think that women aren't human and men are. You believe that women are wet washcloths you can use to wash the grime off different parts of your body or to fling in the face of another person, a male. You two collaborated on keeping me in jail by planning escapes so elaborate that they had nothing to do with escape. That's Western thought for you, which is another like notch in the like looking eastwards for some sort of like pathway out. Not to be too obvious about it. Um, yeah, and then she decides she wants to be part of the motorcycle gang, which is also like breaking type, right? Like we think of motorcycle gangs, I think usually as like Hell's Angels being men, and gangs of like dudes wearing Punisher jackets to like uh be part of a gang. Not to drop a little Daredevil Born Again in there, but one of the best shows on TV is all I'm gonna say. Are you watching that, Brian? Not to detract.
I'm not. I'm boycotting Disney and their woke agenda, so I can't.
Yeah, there's
I can't possibly watch something.
it is a little DEI in the casting, I suppose. No,
Oh no, I can't do that.
it's
I
great.
wouldn't be surprised if they gave Daredevil sight and instead made him deaf, just to try to like play with us.
It's
That's all they do anymore. They just switch things.
yeah, always always switching things. Oh my God. Oh my God.
No, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but it sounds like I should check it out.
I think it's the best thing they've done. Like
Oh.
on TV by far. Like the tension that runs throughout it and ramps up and up and up and up and up and doesn't stop is like really intense. Like it's really well done. I have a like actually I'm gonna tie this together. I'm gonna tie this together in a crazy ass way, okay? Bear with me here. Just hold on. So part of the like the rap on Daredevil Born Again before it came out was that they'd initially started filming it as a like one and done week to week crime lawyer show. That it was going to focus on Matt Murdock as a lawyer, giving up daredeviling and being like, within this like court system. And they're going to bust out like 17 episodes. They filmed part of that, decide they don't like it, scrap the whole thing. Writer strike ensues. The other strike ensues. They eventually get back. They reshoot the whole thing, get a new showrunner, dump most of what was there before, except for like one bottle episode. They're still going to have 17 episodes, but split up over 2 seasons, blah, blah. And like coming out, everyone's like, this show is going to be a mess because it's all these different pieces. It's all this. And watching it last night, the new episode, and like, dude, it doesn't matter. All that stuff is nonsense. What a dumb trope. Like, so much of the best work I think I've ever done was under like undue pressure at the last moment. Like, and a lot of people will say that. You're just like, oh, finally I figured it out. Last moment, I've been struggling with this, and then bang, it happens. Like, we don't have to like wait on that. And I wonder, I'm going to tie this in very loosely, but with Acker's writing, it does always feel like she's just doing this and doing it. It's not like overly crafted. It's not overly plotted in the way that like you imagine like a Raymond Carver coming out with stories at that time are so intensely like labored over, and she's just like spitting off like these scenes like this stuff that like comes fast and furious it seems
Well,
when she
it
decides
goes
to write
back to
it.
like it goes back to like blood and sweat. Like
Yeah,
this is more blood, whereas like a Carver or Hemingway or the MFA stuff that comes out, it's like it's all sweat,
there's
crafted, labored.
I'm gonna do something really quick as you guys vamp for a second here. I want to know what the best-selling books of 1988 were.
Hmm.
Holy shit.
I'm going to
These are
say one thing real quick because the back cover is popping off, but my copy of Empire of the Senseless was print on demand from Lightning Source.
so is mine. Yep. So this is being kept in print, Brian, through like one-to-one copy printing. So the number one best-selling authors of 1988 include The Tommyknockers by Stephen King, Bonfire of the Vanities by Tom Wolfe, The Icarus Agenda by Robert Ludlum, Zoya by Danielle Steele, The Cardinal of the Kremlin by Tom Clancy, The Queen of the Dam by Anne Rice. And then in terms of nonfiction, there's a book from Bill Cosby and check this one out. Trump, The Art of the Deal comes out at the same time. Uh,
Oh no.
which is amazing. Let's see what the National Book Award winners in 1988
All
were.
right. And another fun fact, if anybody cares, this Black Heat section where it talks about learning to ride motorcycles and the importance of motorcycles. Um, I always like that section. And then I recall an interview where she was talking about her writing students in San Francisco. And there was this one student that showed up on a motorcycle, and Acker thought it was the coolest thing ever. And the
Hmm.
student was talking about like, yeah, like what you do is you get your genitalia pierced and you just ride a motorcycle around and like with you like can control the vibration between your legs. Like you are in control of this black beast. Like it and like you can pleasure yourself with it, you can have power with it and freedom with it. And like Acker always thought that was super cool. And so like I don't know if this was part of that in that piece. Uh, but I have a short story called My Roberta where a woman just randomly pierces her clitoris and buys a motorcycle. And
Yep.
I always thought it'd be hilarious. Like after reading that, I always like thought it'd be so funny if like she's in some like sad marriage and the guy's like, I have no idea what's going on right now.
That is
And so, and so that's the in my story collection, there's one that absolutely references Acker, but nobody ever picked
that's
up on.
so
But
funny. We didn't talk about that during the one-off
uh,
episode. We should have, because that would
yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
been a good through line. So here are the National Book Award for Fiction finalists in 1988. Breathing Lessons by Ann Tyler, What the Springeth Green by James F. Powers, Vanish by Mary McGarry Morris, Libra by Don DeLillo, and the winner is Paris Trout by Pete Dexter.
All right.
Those are very different books than this one.
Yeah, I'd only read Libra. I haven't read any of those
Same.
other ones. Yeah.
20 of 1988. I'm just curious about like what are notable books, not necessarily award winners. The Alchemist, Matilda by Roald Dahl, Silence of the Lambs, Batman Year One, Sandman Volume One, Killing Joke. That wasn't published in maybe it was. I don't know. This is like a Goodreads list, so fuck only knows. Satanic Verses. Did that really come out in 1988? I don't know if Goodreads is a trustworthy source, honestly. Yeah, it says first published September 26, 1988.
It's
There we
so,
go.
but kind of like to wrap it up and put a pin in this Empire of the Senseless. I really can't see though, like I know there was like a moment where like cyberpunk was so like on everyone's mind, with the internet becoming a thing, machines, the interaction, wondering what the interaction between humans and machines are going to be, and then obviously like deregulation, the like capitalism, patriarchy running awry, and like you can really like sense that in this book as well. But she does it in a very different way than uh, I don't know, like the cartoon Eon Flux or what comics were doing or what film was doing with their dystopian view of the future. So I thought it was really neat that she took something that was really kind of like a trope and like widely described and really puts her own spin on it and does something completely unlike anybody else,
Yeah.
for better or worse. Maybe
Right.
worse, but
I think I think
definitely,
better. I'm a pro. I'm pro.
definitely nothing like it.
Yeah.
And again, I do think that this book is a razor and that like it will divide. Like if you are pressed against it, it will divide.
Hmm.
You cannot be like in the middle. You're going to pick a side. And
I
I
believe she
think
does say something like that related to a female body part opening up uh
really
and the
okay.
moon in.
And I think that's something I appreciate. There's not a lot of work that's willing. like knowingly and willingly wanting to divide.
Yeah.
And this does that and has the bravery to do that. I think that's really commendable. Love it or hate it, you can't ignore it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Agreed.
At the Acker, RIP. So I'll have my favorite line because it ties into what you said earlier, Kaya. So this is my favorite line is, I don't know, it's at the end, 272, in the ebook. This is my rule. All of you hear this. When I die, probably by motorcycle, for riding a motorcycle is looking at your own skull, throw me dead or my dead body into the ocean. Then all the fish will have something to eat out because they can eat me up. So bringing you back, Brian, and tying it all together. You have a favorite line? And then we can do some announcements. We didn't tease this at the top, but
No.
we can have some announcements now.
I do on page 186 at the top. It says that Abhor was as dumb as a girl, even if she was a girl, and dangerous in her lower parts.
Lower parts.
That's so good. I mean, on a line by line basis, this book is so fun to read aloud. It's only trying to
Downstairs mix up.
yeah, downstairs
She's
mix up.
old Greg.
It's only hard to read in some other sense. Like reading it aloud, like the lines, the humor jumps out off the page. And the way that it's written colloquially. Like when you read it, you feel the pauses and the emphasis and the like sort of like near jokey manner in which parts of it are told, or like the horror of it. But it feels very verbal. And that time goes back to her being like performing and like her bit of like wanting to be the headliner and then like stealing the show all the time. It fits, makes sense, totally works. Favorite line, Brian?
Um, I'll end on a slightly more serious note on page 204. To write is to reveal a heart's identity.
Right on,
Yeah.
right on. So we do know our next three seasons, which will
Ooh.
extend all the way through the summer and right up until September 26th, which will make sense in a second. So we've got the three. I'm gonna put out I'll put out one master schedule once I get it together, but then we can do like individual posts for the three books, obviously. But the first one is your choice, Kaya. So why don't you speak to it? So the book we'll be doing next for season 26. Oh, wait. Before we do season 26, I would like to have one special one-off podcast in which we draft all of the books we've done through the 25 seasons so far. I'll get the full list,
Oh,
and then we each get to pick which ones we would choose. We'll
okay.
each choose five, and we can have a little poll to see like who chose the best teams, the best representation. We've done something similar in the past, but now that it's 25 seasons, it feels like something to commemorate.
I
Sounds good.
can't believe how much of my life I've wasted on these stupid books. Jeez.
Seriously. I mean,
Jeez.
fucking reading, man. It takes so much time. Kai, season 26 is all yours,
Season 26 is going to be Doris Lessing's The Golden Notebook.
which is a masterpiece. She is a Nobel Prize winner, obviously. And this is considered to be one of, if not her greatest book. She's written a ton of stuff, like a ton of stuff. And we'll get into it when we get into it, including the Canopus and Argos archives series and the Children of Violence series, which is the one I've always been very curious to read. But
Yeah.
Golden Notebook, amazing book.
And I
Definitely
can,
worth it.
yeah, and we were talking about it before we started recording, but I'll say it here to try to whet people's interest. And the reason I want to do it is because I read about two-thirds of it and stopped and was like, I want to talk to Chad and Brian about this book. Um, it's super long, but it seems super fucking fun. I really, 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 really have enjoyed what I have read, and I would love to just shoot the shit with you guys about it.
And in some ways, you can tie it into Kathy Acker by it being like sort of an opposite, but also like still looking at the various forms of repression against women and treatment of women throughout
Absolutely.
a period of time.
Absolutely.
But she's not trying to, and she is breaking with form and to a certain degree with the Golden Notebook and the different colored notebooks and the different women that are represented through them. So
Yeah.
it does sort of track as like a kind of counterpart to that. Um, there is, just so you know, because this one maybe I don't think it exists anymore, but is interesting that the way that you talked about this just now, Kaya, is that the future of the book is an organization that I believe still exists that would try and do various experiments and research into like what a book could be in the future. And one of the things that they did do that they gave a panel on, the founder gave a panel on, the founder who also created the Criterion collection of all things, but as laser discs, not as what it is today. Um, Bob Stein, that is. He gave a presentation at a panel I organized once in which he put together a online group reading project of the Golden Notebook. This is the book that they had seven people try and like sort of do a live, not live, but like a asymmetric book club in which you could mark up a copy of the book within a certain space, sort of like Wiki or Google Doc style. This is 2009 or something, eight. So a while ago. Technology is not quite the same back then. And it didn't work, I guess. I think that part of the reason why was that the various people didn't really like engage with each other, but also didn't like the book for some reason.
Hmm.
So it was a project that existed but didn't work. But it was designed specifically because he thought it would be the book that people would want to talk about with each other. So
Cool.
it's then 27, which will be after that, is one that I picked, and I'm going out on a limb, which is Tomb of Sand by Gitanjali Shri. This won the International Man Booker Prize in 2022. It's translated by Daisy Rockwell. It is about a 80-year-old woman who falls into deep depression and meets and develops a friendship with a transgender person in India. And this is supposed to be like, according to Daisy Rockwell, whose stated goal as a translator, and is Norman Rockwell's daughter, her stated goal as a translator is to show that Indian literature is many things other than just what we stereotypically expect, and then that this is more in the vein of like a James Joyce or a playful whatever than it is this like family saga of, sort of like arranged marriages and whatnot. So it should break the mold a little bit.
That's super disappointing. I wanted one where like families are cooking together and then you learn about recipes and stuff, and then there's fights over how to correctly cook things with the recipes.
100% like water for chocolate. I
Mhm.
did because I just went to India and I think that I want to like read more Indian literature as a result, and I do want to like know what that is. But another option would have been this motherfucker, Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth. This is like one of the longest books ever. It's 1400 1500 tiny printed pages, and it is all that family story, man. It
Oh
is.
no,
It's
suitable boy. That looks like a suitable man.
could
That's
you could you imagine?
thick. Woo, he thick.
When he finally finishes A Suitable Girl, which is coming every
Oh
year next year,
no.
we'll do them together.
Oh no.
And, and then we decided that the third book, season what would be 28, and this is the one that I think will end just before September 26th, will be Vineland by Thomas Pynchon. Which the reason is that the Paul Thomas Anderson movie about Vineland comes out on September 26th. I always forget the title of it. I'm never gonna remember. It's a Vineland movie. It is called.
It's called Between the Rows, the Robert Mondavi story. And it's about a young boy who dreams of making wine and goes into this valley called Napa and has the courage to rip up the almond trees and plant Cabernet Sauvignon.
one, one battle
Vineland.
after another.
Oh,
Um,
or that.
or that. But I think Vineland's one of my like surprise favorite Pynchon books. I'd only read it once until a few years ago. I reread it and was like, because people were talking about how like prescient it was and how much it tied into like the current like the first Trump regime, and it truly is. And I know that neither of you have read it, and I think you're going to be kind of amazed by how much it like does reflect this moment in time. It also, to tie it back into this season, dips back into like the 80s and into the Reaganomics and into like what's going to come of this particular moment in time. So also first place I ever heard the word defenestration. And this will come out, we'll finish the season just before Pynchon's new book drops. So kind of perfect. So we have 26 Golden Notebook by Doris Lessing, 27 Tomb of Sand by Geet Geetanjali Shri, and then season 28 Vineland by Thomas Pynchon. So there we go. We'll have some one-offs maybe in the middle. We'll see what books kind of fit. I do still, like I said, want to do something about Dennis Cooper to sort of reflect on the Kathy Acker of it all. But we'll mix that up. But otherwise, there's your plan. You know what to buy. You know what to do. We'll have the whole reading schedule up in the not too distant future, and In the meantime, you can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching us on YouTube, click the like button, subscribe. You know what to do. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad, listen to our podcast. If you're a bookstore owner, why don't you play this in the background all the time? People love to hear me say the word fuck over and over and or like various words we said throughout this particular season. I think it would be good background music for a lovely Sunday afternoon of shopping at your local bookstore. And otherwise, we'll be back soon.
Piper, don't read Kathy Acker. She's not a decent person.